Episode 32 this week, the Doomsday Machine. One of the better episodes. This week, Captain Kirk encountered a destroyed solar system. They didn't know what was happening. They just saw a destroyed solar system. They were getting a distress signal from another ship, so they went to investigate. They found the USS Constellation adrift. It looked like it had been through a battle, and was just sitting there adrift. Kirk takes the landing party over, leaves Spock in charge of the Enterprise. They get over there and orders Scotty to figure out if the phaser banks have been fired. Well, Scotty takes his crew with him to check out the engines. A little confusing, but that's what they did. McCoy and Kirk find Commodore Decker, who is in command of the Constellation, sitting in his briefing room. Just laying across the desk, sitting in the chair. Kirk yelled at him. And McCoy's like he's in shock, and Kirk's like, well, maybe if I scream louder, he'll not be in shock. They find out that Decker had beamed his whole crew down to the third planet, which wasn't in existence anymore. There is no third planet, Kirk yelled. Don't you think I know that? Yelled Commodore Decker. Apparently he was the only survivor. This thing that he described as the devil eating up planets. They couldn't communicate with Starfleet because it disrupted communications. He tried to get his crew to safety, and it backfired. He was the only one that survived, even though his ship was adrift. So, Kirk tells McCoy to take Decker back to the Enterprise to treat him. And he was going to figure out what was going on with the big planet-eating monster. As soon as McCoy and Decker get on board the Enterprise, there's that monster going after the Enterprise. They're in red alert. Decker tries to tell Spock what to do. Spock's not having it, so Decker just tells him, well, I'm taking command under regulations. Spock's like, that's a horrible idea. Your whole crew died because of you. And he's like, yeah, well, who asked you, he said. And so he took command of the ship. Over on the Constellation, Scotty gets some power. They start heading over to distract the planet killer. And then Decker thinks, well, that's a good idea. Let's just keep shooting phasers at the thing, even though it's not made a bit of difference. So he keeps shooting phasers. They finally escape from it. They finally get communications back, and Kirk starts screaming at Decker. What do you think you're doing? It's my ship. You already blew up your own ship. You lost all your crew. Don't do it to me. Decker's like, yeah, but I'm in command. And he's like, well, I don't care. Spock's in command now. And he's like, I outrank you. Like, still don't care. Well, Spock's like, well, if he doesn't care, I don't care. So get off the bridge. And they threw Decker out of command. Threw him right out of command. He could have done that at any point, but he didn't. So then, Decker's like, well, I'll show them. He steals a shuttlecraft, flies the thing into the planet killer, basically commits suicide. Just flies the thing in there thinking it'll explode and blow up the planet killer. It drained it of a little bit of power, so Kirk's like, well, if we blow up this ship, the Constellation, that'll solve the problems. Spock's like, there's no evidence of that. And Kirk's like, just do it. And he's like, by the way, the transporter doesn't work. And Kirk's like, well, I'll take that risk. It may not work. I might blow up too, but I have to do this. And Spock's like, well, okay. So they rigged up a 30-second delay. Scott gets back to the Enterprise. He's like, forget this. Transporters are down. Scotty's trying feverishly to repair them. Kirk sets the thing. He's like, beam me aboard. And Spock's like, can't. And he's like, well, do it. And he's like, still can't. Longest 30 seconds that had ever transpired. With 2 seconds to spare, they beam Kirk back over. Everything's fine. He's like, well, at least Decker didn't die in vain. And Spock's like, I hope your log will reflect how great Decker was. Kirk's like, you bet it will. They threw him out of the command. Relieved him of duty. They hated Decker. When Decker was dying, Kirk spouted off like the most insincere cliches you'll ever hear. We're stronger with you than without you. Oh, don't do this. Oh, don't do that, Decker. He didn't seem to care. His heart wasn't in saving Decker. And now he's like, yeah, what a hero that guy was. But that was pretty much the episode. Some interesting notes. Lieutenant Uhura not in the episode. Lieutenant Palmer was communications officer. I don't think we see her ever again, but she was in quite a few scenes, had quite a bit of dialogue for a one-off. Lieutenant Kyle was back. He was the guy that was trying to beam people aboard and the transporter wasn't working. He nearly jumped over the transporter controls once Kirk materialized because he knew he'd probably be busted in rank if he had lost Kirk. But he was relieved. No Mr. Chekhov in this episode either. Chekhov wasn't there. Sulu was. Sulu just kept ignoring Decker's orders and looking at Spock. And he'd follow what Spock said, and then Decker would countermand him, and Sulu would just look at Spock, waiting for Spock to countermand. Sulu knew Decker was no good. He's like, well, that guy just lost 400 people. I don't want to end up like them. He knew Spock would eventually countermand him. McCoy in the episode a lot. Scott was a valuable commodity. It was one of the few times you saw the inside of a Federation starship on the original series. It wasn't Enterprise. They just redressed the sets of the Enterprise, of course, and made it look slightly different, but it was the same sets. They had that as the Constellation. Also, quite a bit of damage shown on the Constellation. One of the few times you saw like major battle damage on a ship during the original series. But pretty much that's the episode.